What's going on here then?
Greetings, I am a Knight of the Round Table. My name is Sir Lancelot. I am also a Knight of the Round Table. My name is Sir Galahad.
So, who are you then?
I designed the round table. My name is Circumference.
He's a feisty-looking character, isn't he? The Knight of Wands is all about movement and action. Now that's the case with all the knights, but when you pair that with the element of fire, we're talking crazy amounts of action. Rachel Pollack says the knights translate the quality of each suit into movement. You know, like when your uncle gets drunk at a wedding and decides he's going to show everyone how to really dance. Well, this is him on steroids. Now you might be thinking this is just the same as the Eight of Wands, but that card is more about things quickly drawing to a conclusion, while the Knight is all about getting started. Travel and adventure is another aspect. According to Rider-Waite, he's shewn as if on a journey, armed with a short wand, and although mailed, is not on a warlike errand. He's passing mounds or pyramids. The motion of the horse is a key to the character of its rider, and suggests the precipitate mood or things connected therewith. Okay, acting without careful consideration makes perfect sense because impulsiveness is another important aspect. Why didn't he just say that in the first place? Now, as a quick side note, it's important that we don't get the knights confused with the knights. Crowley, bless him, decided that he wanted to use knights instead of kings. So knights in the Thoth Tarot actually line up with kings in the Rider-Waite deck, while knights in the Rider-Waite deck line up with princes in the Thoth Tarot. Do you ever get the feeling they were just being deliberately awkward? I'd say Waite and Crowley were secretly laughing at us trying to make sense of it all, but they absolutely hated each other, so I guess that's unlikely. Anyway, in the Thoth Tarot, this card is called the Prince of Wands.
Except Charles isn't a prince anymore, he's a king.
Oh yeah. Okay, so in the Thoth Tarot, this card is called the Prince of Wands.
He's not a prince anymore either. He ran off to Netflix.
Oh, for God's sake, are there any princes left? No, not that one. We don't want him. So in the Thoth Tarot, this card is called the Prince of Wands, but the meanings are pretty much the same. Crowley says he's a warrior in complete armour of scale mail, but his arms are bare on account of his vigour and activity. In his left hand he bears the Phoenix Wand of the Second Adept, the wand of power and energy. This goes back to the wands that were appointed to the different levels of the Golden Dawn, which we also saw on the 5, 6 and 7 of Wands. With his other arm he reins the lion which draws his chariot. He rides upon a sea of flames, both waved and salient. As ever, Crowley and Harris really emphasise the elemental aspect of the card, so there's always lots of fire in the case of the wands. We've also got that on the Waite-Smith card in this case, as you can see with the flames coming off the back of the knight. In the last video we talked about how the pages and princesses can represent children, while the knights and princes symbolise adolescence. The Sforza and Marseille have both got the standard image of a knight on horseback. The Solabusca has also got the knight on a horse, although they appear to be in the most awkward position possible.
A floret of wheat beaten under the stick is broken, and each seed is scattered, very often to different soil than what produced it.
Yep, with the wheat and the soil.
The Hermetic title for the Knight of Wands is Prince of the Chariot of Fire.
So Prince of the Chariot of Fire is one of two titles for this one, the other being Prince and Emperor of the Salamanders, so we've got that fire lizard theme still running. As with the page, the knight wears a rather funky looking salamander design on his tunic, so it was obviously all the rave with the court characters. In the tarot there's a great deal of emphasis on how the physical embodiment of fire connects directly to the human experience, but that echoes through many other forms of culture. Andrei Tarkovsky once said, "History is not time, nor is evolution, they are both consequences. Time is a state, the flame in which there lives the salamander of the human soul."
The Knight of Wands corresponds to the Zodiac signs Cancer and Leo.
So the court cards all get multiple star signs each because they're posh. On the Zodiac wheel, the Knight and Prince take up 1 decan of Cancer and 2 decans of Leo. This makes Leo the dominant sign for this one, and we can see that clearly on the Thoth card, where we've got the chariot being drawn by a lion. Apparently Crowley had a deep affinity with the Prince of Wands. According to Milo Duquette, the card is Crowley's idealised image of himself. He says Crowley's ascendant was 3 degrees Leo, consequently he identified strongly with Leo and the Prince of Wands, who rules 20 degrees Cancer to 20 degrees Leo.
The Knight of Wands resides in the world of Absolute and sits at the 6th Sephiroth of Tiferet, together with the 6 of Wands. The name of this Sephiroth translates to beauty.
We've come racing all the way back up to the Sunny Saphira to get ourselves a nice tan. The knight and princes of all the suits live with the sixes. Now in the case of the wands, they're both on horseback, so it's a very equestrian situation we've got here. John Marston would be very excited to draw this card. Now I did mention in the video for the six about Tiferet being connected to Christ consciousness, and someone's asked me if I could clarify that. I can't, but luckily Dion Fortune could. She says Tiferet means beauty, and to it is assigned the sphere of the sun. When the gods of the various pagan pantheons are being correlated to the spheres of the tree, it will be found that the sacrifice gods invariably come onto Tiferet, and for this reason it has been called the Christ Center in the Christian Kabbalah.
The Knight of Wands herb is aconite, also known as wolfsbane or monk's hood. This herb is highly poisonous.
This tea tastes a bit funny.
But what does it all mean?
The Knight and Prince of Wands share most of the same meanings when it comes to movement, action and the passionate approach to life. Where the two cards differ is in the Rider-Waite emphasis on travel and relocation. Waite says divinatory meanings: departure, absence, flight, emigration, a dark young man, friendly, change of residence. In the Thoth Tarot, Crowley wanted to focus more on the character himself, so this idea of the fiery and impulsive temperament. Crowley says the moral qualities appropriate to this figure are swiftness and strength, but he is sometimes indicated to act on impulse, sometimes easily led by external influences. That last part about being easily led would be something to bear in mind when he appears in a reading, but the main focus seems to be on a restless character who craves action. As ever, Rachel Pollack has done a fantastic job of bringing all those elements together. She says because fire itself symbolises movement, the Knight of Wands shows this quality in the extreme. He represents eagerness, action, movement for its own sake, adventure and travel.
It should serve as advice to the querent that he should not leave in the hands of a friend too long the funds he has entrusted to him.
Did you hear that? You need to give me that $5 you owe me.
But I haven't got it. I spent it on a pair of Kim Kardashian underpants. It advises taking legal action to obtain compensation for the harm suffered.
That's it. You'll be hearing from my lawyer.
Oh no!
I think the reverse card serves as a warning against the impulsive side of the Knight and the Prince, and the potential disruption that could bring into your life. Waite says reversed, rupture, division, interruption, discord. So obviously being enthusiastic about something is great, but we also need to keep a clear head and not get overexcited about whatever it is that we're trying to do. Rachel Pollack says the reverse knight symbolises confusion, disrupted projects, breakdown and disharmony.
If you are reading for a young person and this card appears in the reverse, it announces a marriage in decline.
Gosh, this is turning into a bit of a soap opera. The big takeaway for both of these cards is having an energetic and passionate character that urges us to take action and pursue our goals with confidence and flair. However, we also need to be aware of the negative aspects of impulsiveness, which requires us to have discipline and willpower to stay focused. Zig Ziglar once said, "It was character that got us out of bed, commitment that moved us into action, and discipline that enabled us to follow through."
That's disgusting. No, not that kind of follow through, you buffoon. Thank you for joining us once again on Kippy's Quest. May the coming days bring you eagerness and the energy to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.